It's about that time of day again. My name is Joseph. It's Tuesday evening, January 10th, 2017. This is your nightly newsletter. We're covering crude, S&P, gold, euro, and FDAX this evening. Crude is bearish and trading at the low of a bear channel as sellers are waiting for a correction to sell more tomorrow. The E-mini S&P is bearish and trying to retest today's lows after the buyers failed to hold a late session rally. Gold, the yellow metal, is bullish, but trading right into a measured move, which tells those buyers to avoid buying high and wait for a move back down to those lows. Euro is also bearish, trading near the low of a channel and possible wedge this evening, telling sellers to focus on selling the highs tomorrow. And of course, we can't forget about the old FDAX. FDAX is range bound and trading right in the middle of a triangle tonight, telling both sides to stay patient and wait for those failures at the extremes tomorrow. Another great newsletter in store for you guys tonight. We got some big moves. We got some range-bound markets. We got some trending markets. Another big newsletter for you guys and gals. Before we jump into charts, though, I do want to remind you, the only place to watch the full-length version of this newsletter video is on our blog at sidewaysmarkets.com. If you're watching the video right now on our YouTube channel, it's only a small portion on the YouTube channel. Follow that link and come join me on the blog at Sideways Markets in the description of the YouTube video and watch the full-length version. While you're here, don't forget, join the mailing list. I'll send you an email every evening when our nightly newsletter goes live. I'm also posting charts throughout the day on my Twitter feed. Make sure to follow me on Twitter. Below the video tonight, you can see a spot to download all the charts you've seen in tonight's video. You can download those charts by following that link below the video on the blog. And then please don't forget, you're going to learn more with me in 90 minutes on my free pass than you will anywhere else on the interwebs. Grab that free pass, join the trade room as a guest for a few days this week, and learn right along with me here in the upper right-hand corner. Please don't forget, if you're brand new here to the School of Trade community, got a great frequently asked questions page on the right-hand side of the website, and I'm always here to answer all your questions 24/7, 365. I'm always here, so holler at me. Use that live support button on the right-hand side if you got any questions. Boy, what a great second week of the month. No major news until later on this week. Tomorrow is the first day this week we're going to start seeing some major news on the calendar here for us. Let's jump right in. We're only as good as our last trade here. Got a big day coming up tomorrow. Tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, this is where we start to see a lot more kind of pokers in the fire here this week. We got a lot more news on the schedule. It's been a great week so far. It's been pretty easy pickings on crude oil. It's been pretty big movement across the board here. Hope you guys had a great week so far. Again, looking at the news for tonight, nothing major coming out overnight tonight. Nothing to worry about tonight in the overnight session. Tomorrow, really, the only major news tomorrow on the schedule is going to be that petroleum status report, of course, being 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. Last week, of course, was on Thursday. We're back to normal schedule though here this week. So Wednesdays 10:30 a.m. Don't forget, give that inventory report that 15-minute heads up, 15 minutes before, 15 minutes after. And remember, after that news comes out, let it calm down a little bit, right? It may not take a full 15 minutes, but I always tell you, give it at least 10 minutes after the news comes out. That way you can make sure, right, that you're not trying to wrestle that wild animal, right, that is the inventory report. As always, Wednesdays are inventory day. Early in, early out, ahead of that news, and then try to time it after the news comes out, right, to see if that market will slow down ahead of lunch, right, so you can grab some more opportunities here before we finish up the session on crude. Also, a reminder, too, tomorrow, obviously we'll be trading this tomorrow with all of our students in the trade room, so you don't need to do this alone tomorrow. Come join me in the trade room. Keep in mind, the S&P has been reacting very well to the crude oil market over the past few months, so keep an eye on the S&P tomorrow around that petroleum status report. You would think that crude oil futures are the only market affected, right, but you'll see pretty much everything these days going to be affected by the inventory report on Wednesday. So please watch out for that tomorrow. If you're trading crude, 15-minute heads up, 15 minutes before, 15 minutes after. And again, come out and see me tomorrow. We'll be in our trade room live in real time tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Look forward to seeing you guys there, and we'll trade the report together. Let's jump right in here. Boy, oh boy, another day here. Crude sliding lower here. The buyers tried to take it higher. We had the bulls in control for the first portion of the day today, but that was not very long-lived. It quickly rolled right over. A great example from last night's newsletter. I gave you guys some. If you guys watched last night's newsletter, I gave you guys some excellent spots to be looking for right overhead, and boy, oh boy, did we get that right up and then coming right back down. So if you watched last night's newsletter, you were definitely prepared for selling opportunities today. Let's get ready for tomorrow. Crude is bearish and trading at, just a little bit bearish here, 2 days in a row now. Crude is bearish and trading at the low of a channel this evening, which tells me to look for selling opportunities up at the high of the channel or after a successful breakout pullback below the channel low, with a target, of course, going down to the measured move tomorrow. The sellers clearly have control, but we don't want to sell the low of the channel, so our best option is to stay patient and wait for more information tomorrow. Buyers need to be careful tomorrow because any move up off these lows will likely be seen as a selling opportunity, so the only time we can reliably buy tomorrow will be after we see considerable strength going higher. We've been here before, right? We were here same time, same place last night, right? All the way down at the low of day. The sellers, of course, right? Again, like I said, the buyers had a little bit of an edge here earlier this morning, but that didn't last very long before, right, it tumbled lower. This, of course, now connecting all the dots here, we got that long-term channel. Whenever we see a bear channel, what does a bear channel tell me? Bear channel tells me sell the high of that channel, right? Look to sell the high of the channel. What else does a bear channel tell me? It also tells me to keep an eye on prior swings, an eye on prior swings, an eye on prior swings, with the goal of going up and then bringing it back down to retest that low, right? So that's always the plan for a bear channel. A bull channel would be the exact opposite. We get a couple of those on the charts here tonight, which we'll take a look at as well. We also have a nice juicy target waiting here. We don't see this very often. Big measured move. This is pretty much the only way to really calculate that measured move. The measured move target is down at 50.44. We also have a double down. I'm calculating that double down for all you students out there of mine. I'm calculating that double down right off of that move higher, and that's going to create the no trade zone. Now, the no trade zone is for sellers, obviously. Obviously for buyers too. You're not going to want to just buy because you're at support, but we always want to keep selling until we get to the objective. The problem is that once we get down into this no trade zone, you're going to see a lot of professional sellers that choose to ride the rest of it lower rather than getting into new positions. So just be careful trying to sell below that 50.63. What happens a lot is you'll see the market kind of slip down to that measured move, and then every time it kind of bounces up, it'll be sold back down, right? Bounces up, it gets sold back down. The key is, though, is we don't want to sell into the measured move. We want to sell on the way down to it, right? So if you're a day trader, crude oil likes to move in 10-tick increments, right? We like to use that no trade zone between 10 and 15 ticks. We do it together every day in the trade room. It's pretty simple. Come out and join me tomorrow. But bottom line, though, is the measured move is the ultimate objective here for those bears, at least in the medium term here for now. But again, we have that no trade zone, right? We want to beware trying to sell too low, right? Too low. The big thing right now, one more clue here, I guess two more clues on this chart, is going to be this pretty much untested reversal line at 51.17. So that's going to be a definite area of interest for us here, right? That 51.17. 51.17, top of the channel, right? And then, of course, another key area here up inside that battle zone. Tomorrow's inventory day, so don't be surprised if we see the bulls get a nice big run up, right, into that inventory report, only just to dump it right back down again. So keep an eye on the battle zone as well, right? That wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. We see quite frequently where price will go up through the high into an area of resistance waiting above. Sellers, of course, are there to greet it as the price comes down. So as you can tell at this point now in the on the chart here, we really have kind of two scenarios. One scenario is going to be up and then back down. That's going to be the most reliable. The other scenario, probably not going to be very easy to get into, and that would be the breakdown, right? Kind of a breakout pullback here, using that. You know, oftentimes when you see a market that just runs that strong, the low of the day, you know, the low of that channel is kind of just a formality. It doesn't really care. You can see here where, good example here, we didn't get the full rotation, right? They didn't rotate back to the high. That just gives you kind of an idea of just how strong that overall trend was today, right? It wasn't even able to rotate back up to that high. So we may not see it really get out from underneath this, or get up off this low very much. It may just kind of run and go lower. The only problem though is that we have that no trade zone. So what you want to think about here is if it does just kind of break out, pull back, it's a real aggressive sell. We're not always going to go right into that measured move. So if it wasn't for the no trade zone there, this would be an option here for us. Successful breakout pullback below that of that channel. But the problem here is we have that measured move. So what you want to be thinking is, if it does end up going down to that measured move, really at that point there are two things that we want to be watching for. Either one would be get it up and then sell it back down, right? Kind of every time it pops its head back higher here, we look for that chance to sell it back down again. The other would be where we see some profit taking, but then it just runs, right through it, bring that moving average down, and then we can sell, right? And then we can sell that next breakout pull back there. So you got to get that break down, strong move below that measured move. So it's either going to be sell, again, this is if we don't get the correction, it's either going to be a nice strong move down, right? And then again, the key word is, if you're going to get through that measured move, we really want to see proof. There should be no question about whether or not the sellers are running through that measured move. It should literally just slip and fall right through that measured move. That's the scenario that tells you that it's safe to be selling low like that, right? Because it's going to create that new lower low. Either that, or make sure you're selling high, right, as the market, right, rotates back up, right? Sellers will be waiting to sell it back down again. If we do make a run, there's that big round number. We talked about this last week, right? Right? That 50 bucks a barrel still waiting there right now. It's tough to say. Tomorrow's an inventory day, so it's very much a variable right now. Keeping an eye on these areas of resistance. Would love to get this price up, and then of course failure back down. You can kind of think about something like this here. Buyers try to buy the pullback, they fail. There's your first one, right? And there's your second, right? So buyer failure into that breakout pullback. That's pretty much what we got today, coming out of last night's newsletter. It may go a little bit higher though, right? Again, it's an inventory report, right? So we may see something like this, which is just fine and dandy with me, because this will be even more profit potential. This does happen quite a bit during news events. The buyers get their shot. They have fun with it tomorrow. By 10:30, 10:15, 10:30, we're up around the battle zone. We see some chop from the news, and then, right, price just launches back down again, right? So if it does make its way higher here, if we do get that strength, right, if we see tons of, sellers take their profit, bears take their profit, buyers try to buy off this low, we do get a strong move higher here, get me above this reversal line, get me above the 51.17 and give me, right, again, the key here right now is, if you want to be a buyer, you need to see some definite strength, right? I don't want to see price just barely get back above that moving average. It needs to be strong, right? Run through that moving average. Keep going, make it very obvious that sellers are out of this game, at least for the time being, and the buyers have the shot. Just be careful if you're a buyer, though, buying into that battle zone. Chances are it'll be sometime tomorrow, right, if we do get up there around that news. So got a good plan here, whether price goes lower, if price goes higher. If price goes higher, we'd love to see price go higher. If price does go lower, just watch out for that no trade zone. You got a game plan on that, though, right, we talked about earlier. How about some S&P? Boy, kind of a wild ride on the ES. The E-mini is bearish and trying to retest today's low after the buyers failed to hold a late session rally. The bears have control, holding the low of a failed bull channel, and now we're ultimately waiting to see if the strong move off the highs is going to develop into a spike in channel or just a channel as the bears try to finish the move down to those lows. As a seller, I'm watching the overhead resistance levels and looking for traps and failures to sell high on the way back down, and will avoid selling low ahead of the measured move. Buyers may get another shot at this after such a wild finish to the session today. We may get a strong break higher, and all the buyers need to do is hold above the resistance trend line for a chance to buy back up to the highs tomorrow. Kind of an interesting scenario here. This is one of those charts that, if this chart could talk, it has a very interesting story to tell us. As you can see, the day starts off, of course, following crude, right, trying to go lower. They double bottom here, right? What does a double bottom tell us? Rejection. So sellers, of course, rejected lower prices. With that rejection, buyers have a chance now to take it higher. Now, this much strength.